This is my true story. My son brought a stranger into my home, saying she was a financial advisor who would help me manage my estate and ensure my legacy was protected. But the moment I looked at her face, I noticed a small, jagged scar just below her left ear. A detail most would miss, but one I've seen on a computer screen 1,000 times. When I finally recognized who she was, I called the police. Before that, tell us where you're watching from and what time it is there right now. And please subscribe to this channel so that my stories can reach more people. I am 70 years old. For most of my life, I worked in a world of shadows as a senior intelligence analyst. I spent decades staring at red notices and tracking the world's most dangerous ghosts from behind a desk. When I retired, I thought I was done with that world. Adam Prime, I just wanted to be a grandfather. I love my son, David. At least I thought I did. I knew he and his wife, Sarah, were struggling. They lived a lifestyle their paychecks couldn't support. The luxury SUVs, the designer clothes, the private schools. Adam Prime, I could see the cracks forming in their smiles, the way they looked at my house and my life insurance policy with a hunger they couldn't quite hide. But they were family. You want to believe the best of your own blood, even when your gut tells you otherwise. Adam Prime. Last Tuesday, David called me sounding unusually upbeat. "Dad, we've found someone to help you," he said. He told me they were bringing over a financial advisor to help me manage my estate and ensure my legacy was protected. I sit in my wingback chair, the leather cool against my back. Across the room, my son, Marcus, and his wife, Sarah, are pacing. They move like wolves circling a wounded stag, but they lack the grace of predators. Marcus smells of expensive cologne and the sharp, metallic tang of desperation. He has always had a taste for things he couldn't afford. "Dad, you're drifting again," Marcus says, snapping his fingers in front of my face. "Are you listening? We brought Elna over. She's the best estate planner in the city. She's here to help you." I look at him. I let my eyes wander, unfocused, as if I'm struggling to remember his name. Inside, my mind is a cold room filled with filing cabinets. I spent 30 years as an intelligence analyst. You don't just retire from seeing the truth. I turn my gaze to the woman sitting on my sofa. She wears a sharp gray suit and a practiced, empathetic smile. "It's a pleasure, Arthur," she purrs, leaning in. My pulse doesn't jump, but my internal database clicks into gear. I don't see an estate planner. I see a grainy photograph from a 2018 Interpol Red Notice. Elena, a professional life insurance accelerator. Her specialty is making elderly men die in ways that look like tragic accidents, so she can take a 30% cut of the payout. 3 accidental falls in 3 years. "Is it time for my tea yet?" I ask, my voice thin and reedy. Sarah rolls her eyes and sighs. "In a minute, Arthur. Just listen to Elena. She's going to make sure Marcus and I are protected. You want us to be okay, don't you?" "I want everyone to get exactly what they deserve," I say softly. Elena smiles, revealing teeth that look too white to be real. "That's the spirit, Arthur. We just need to review your life insurance policy. With your health history, we should probably accelerate the premium structure. It ensures a larger lump sum for the family." It sounds complicated," I mumble, rubbing my temples. My head hurts when I think about numbers. "Marcus, why is the lady here again?" Marcus walks over and grips my shoulder. His hand is heavy, lacking any real affection. "She's here to fix your mess, Pop. You've got all this money sitting in stagnant accounts. Elena is going to help us manage the estate while you rest." "Manage," I repeat the word slowly. "Yes. I suppose I have been tired lately." I see them exchange a look. It's a look of pure, unadulterated greed. They think I'm a fading shadow, a bank account with a heartbeat. They don't realize they aren't the hunters in this room. They are the targets. "Will there be cookies?" I ask, staring vacantly at the wall. "The ones with the blue tin?" "I'll get your cookies later," Sarah snaps, her patience wearing thin. "Just sign where she tells you to sign." I nod slowly, playing the part of the senile old man perfectly. The parasites are hungry and they think I'm the meal. They have no idea that I am already preparing the table for their last supper. The shadow of the estate planner still lingers in the room as the sun begins to dip below the horizon. The air feels heavy with their silent calculations. I remain in my chair, unmoving, watching the dust motes dance in the fading light. To Marcus and Sarah, I am just another piece of furniture to be appraised and eventually discarded. Dinner is a cold, joyless affair of takeout containers and resentment. Sarah reaches across the table to clear a space, and her sleeve catches my late wife's favorite porcelain tea set. The teapot, the one Martha used every morning for 40 years, clatters to the hardwood floor. It shatters into 100 jagged white teeth. "Oh, Arthur, look at the mess you've caused," Sarah sighs, not even looking down from her phone. "I didn't touch it," I say, my voice steady but quiet. "You knocked it over." "Don't lie, Pop," Marcus says, his eyes fixed on my Rolex. "You're getting clumsy. Your hands shake. Your mind wanders. It's embarrassing." He lets out a sharp, disrespectful laugh that cuts through the room. "Why are you even wearing a 5-figure watch? You don't even know what year it is? You probably think it's still 1995. It's a 1972 Submariner, Marcus. Your grandfather gave it to me," I reply. "It's wasted on you," Sarah adds, finally looking up with a sneer. "Maybe it's time we talk about a home, a real facility, a place where they handle people like you, people who break things and forget where they are." I look at the shards of my memories on the floor. I feel a flicker of the old fire in my chest, the cold rage of a man who has interrogated terrorists and survived coups. I let a single tear fall, making sure they see it. I want them to believe I am broken. I want them to feel the intoxication of their own perceived power. "Perhaps you're right," I mumble, staring at the porcelain ruins. "I am tired. I'm so very tired of trying to keep up." "Good," Marcus says, standing up and reaching for his jacket. "We'll bring the final papers tomorrow. Try not to break anything else tonight, okay?" I don't answer. I just watch them walk out, their heads huddled together, already spending the money they haven't earned. That tear was the last bit of weakness they will ever see from me. The alpha doesn't scream when he's insulted. He simply begins the countdown. By this time tomorrow, they will realize that while they were busy breaking my tea sets, I was busy dismantling their lives. The sound of Marcus's sharp, mocking laughter still echoes in the hallway, long after the front door has clicked shut. I remain motionless in my chair, listening to the silence of a house that used to be filled with life. The parasites believe they have broken my spirit along with the porcelain. They are wrong. In the world of intelligence, silence isn't a sign of defeat. It is the moment before the strike. I wait until the clock strikes midnight. I stand up, my movements no longer stiff or shaky. I move through the dark house with the fluid, silent grace of the man I was before the world thought I grew old. I descend the stairs to my basement workshop. It smells of cedar and oil. To my son, this is just a place where I tinker with broken clocks. To me, it is my armory. I reach behind a row of dusty reference books and pull a small lever. A false-bottomed cigar box slides out. Inside lies the tradecraft of a previous life. I pick up a heavy silver fountain pen. It looks like an heirloom, but the reservoir is filled with a specialized nitrate-based, disappearing ink. I also retrieve a digital recorder, no larger than a coin. "Let's see how deep the hole is, Marcus," I whisper to the empty room. I open my encrypted laptop and begin the hunt. My son thinks he is clever, but he leaves a digital trail a mile wide. Within 20 minutes, I find the truth. He owes $2 million to a private equity firm with a reputation for broken kneecaps. He isn't just greedy, he is terrified. He's not looking for an inheritance. He's looking for a ransom to save his own skin. I check the pen's flow on a scrap of paper. I write my name, Arthur Vance. I watch the clock. In exactly 24 hours, the chemicals will react with the air, and the signature will vanish into thin air. It will leave nothing but blank parchment and a legacy of absolute betrayal. "You chose the wrong ghost to haunt, son," I say, my voice cold and low. I test the digital recorder. The audio is crisp. I have spent my life protecting this country from enemies abroad, only to find the most dangerous ones sharing my DNA. Tomorrow, I will give them exactly what they want. I will give them my signature, and in doing so, I will give them the rope they need to hang themselves. I am the analyst, and the final protocol has officially begun. The chemical scent of the disappearing ink still lingers in my nostrils as the morning sun bleeds through the curtains. I haven't slept, but my mind is sharp, fueled by the cold clarity of a mission. I hear the front door unlock at 10 a.m. sharp. They are punctual when there's a carcass to pick clean. Elena returns with Marcus and Sarah in tow. She carries a leather briefcase like a shield. The air in the room feels heavy, like the static before a lightning strike. "Good morning, Arthur. Did you sleep well?" she asks, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. "I had dreams of the old days," I mumble, making my eyes look watery and distant. "Dreams of being useful." "You're being very useful today, Pop," Marcus says, sliding a chair up to my mahogany desk. "Just a few signatures to ensure your legacy is protected. We want to make sure the taxman doesn't take what's ours." Elena slides the papers across the desk. I recognize the layout immediately. It's an accelerated insurance beneficiary form. I scan the fine print, my eyes catching the specific clause. Full payout triggered by accidental trauma. They aren't even trying to hide it from a professional eye. They just assume mine is too dim to see. "It looks like so many words," I say, picking up my silver fountain pen. "Where do I sign, dear?" "Right there, Arthur," Elena says, pointing a manicured finger at the bottom line, and again on the second page. My hand mimics a heavy tremor as I hover the nib over the paper. "Does this mean Marcus will be taken care of? He told me things are difficult right now." Marcus stiffens, his eyes fixed on the pen. "Always, Dad. This makes everything right. We'll be a family again. No more stress." I sign my name with a slow, shaky flourish. Arthur Vance. As I turn to the second page, I purposely sweep my left arm across the desk, knocking a stack of folders onto the floor. "Oh, goodness, I'm so clumsy," I wheeze. "For God's sake, Arthur," Sarah snaps, bending down to gather the scattered papers. In that split second of distraction, I slap the coin-sized digital recorder under the inner lip of the desk. I finish the second signature and slide the documents back to Elena. She tucks them into her briefcase with a triumphant snap. "All done," she says, her professional mask slipping to reveal a predatory grin. "We'll let you get some rest now, Arthur. You've had a big morning." I watch them leave the study. I see Marcus squeeze Sarah's hand, a silent celebration of a victory they haven't won. They have my signature and they have their motive. What they don't know is that in 24 hours the ink will vanish, and the audio recording they are about to provide will be the only thing that remains. The silent snap of Elena's briefcase closing was the sound of a trap springing shut, but they didn't realize they were the ones inside it. I retreat to my bedroom, leaning heavily on the banister to maintain the facade. "I have a migraine," I announce to the hallway. "I need to lie down in the dark." I close my door and lock it softly. I don't go to the bed. Instead, I sit at my small vanity and insert a high-gain wireless receiver into my ear. The alpha in me remains perfectly still, my breathing rhythmic and shallow, while the father in me finally dies a quiet death. Through the earpiece, the audio from the study is crystal clear. I hear the clink of glasses. They are toasting. "How long after he signs do we wait?" Sarah asks. Her voice is no longer impatient. It is cold and clinical. Elena's response is immediate. "Tonight, the shower is the easiest. A little oil on the tile, a heavy shove. At 70, the skull is like an eggshell. It's a classic home accident scenario. The coroner won't even blink." I hear Marcus hesitate. For a heartbeat, I hope for a shred of humanity. Then he speaks. "Just make sure it's fast. I need that money by Friday, or the bank takes the house. If they find out about the debt to the equity firm, I'm dead anyway." "He's already half dead, Marcus," Sarah says with a sharp laugh. "We're just helping him across the finish line." I record every word, every callous laugh, and every detail of the conspiracy. My hands do not shake. I am no longer a grieving widower or a neglected father. I am an operative in the field. I open my laptop and begin the cold execution. With a few keystrokes, I initiate the systematic transfer of my liquid assets into a private encrypted Swiss account. I pull up the deed to the house. I move it into a protected trust that Marcus cannot touch. I am stripping the parasites of their host. By the time the sun goes down, I will be a ghost on paper, and they will be nothing more than common criminals caught on tape. I stare at the wall, waiting for the shadows to grow long. The final protocol is in motion, and I am the only one who knows how it ends. The blue light of my laptop screen is the only thing illuminating my face as the last of my offshore transfers completes. The cold execution is humming in the background, a silent machine grinding my son's inheritance into dust. I hear the floorboards creak at 11 p.m. I am sitting in the dark, fully dressed in my suit, my back to the door. I have spent my life in shadows. I am not afraid of what lurks in them. I press the receiver deeper into my ear. I hear Marcus and Elna whispering just outside my door. They think the senile man is lost in a medicated sleep. I listen to them prep the bathroom. It's a rhythmic, terrifying sound, the hiss of a spray bottle applying oil to the shower tile. "Is the hallway light off?" Elena whispers. Her voice is a jagged blade. "Yeah," Marcus breathes. Sarah is downstairs, making sure the back door is unlocked. "It has to look like he got up for a glass of water and slipped." "Go get him," Elena orders. I hear the door handle turn. Marcus enters my room, moving with a clumsiness that offends my professional instincts. "Pop, you okay?" "I thought I heard you fall," he says. He's acting, and he's remarkably bad at it. He approaches the chair, his shadow stretching across the floor like a shroud. I stand up slowly, letting the chair groan. "I'm fine, Marcus. Just thinking about your mother. She always loved this house." He flinches, his hand coming down to rest on my shoulder. It feels like a predator's grip, heavy and hollow. "Yeah, she did, but you look tired, Pop. Why don't you take a warm shower? It'll help you sleep. I already turned the water on for you." "A shower," I repeat, my voice flat. "That sounds like a very long sleep indeed." I let him lead me toward the bathroom. The light from the hallway is dim, but I can see Elena standing in the shadows, her eyes cold and expectant. They are so close to the finish line they can taste the money. They have no idea that every step Marcus takes is being logged, timed, and recorded. I am walking toward a trap, but I am the one holding the remote. The steam from the bathroom billows into the hallway, smelling of hot metal and the slick floral scent of the oil they've sprayed on the tiles. Marcus's grip on my elbow tightens as we reach the threshold. I stop exactly 1 inch from the slick surface. Elena and Sarah are standing in the shadows behind him, watching like vultures waiting for a heartbeat to stop. "The floor looks slippery, Marcus," I say. My voice is no longer thin. It is no longer shaky. It is the voice I used when I briefed directors in Langley, deep, resonant, and commanding. I stand up straight, shedding the weight of the senile old man like a moth-eaten coat. Marcus blinks, his hand dropping from my arm as if he's been burned. What did you say?" he stammers. He looks at me, and for the first time in a decade, he actually sees me. "And I said the floor is slippery. But then that was the point, wasn't it?" I reach into my jacket pocket and pull out the digital recorder. I press play. The hallway is suddenly filled with their own voices. "Tonight, the shower is the easiest." Elena's recorded voice purrs. "At 70, the skull is like an eggshell." Then Marcus's voice follows, cold and desperate. "Just make sure it's fast. I need that money." Sarah lets out a strangled gasp. Elena's professional mask doesn't just slip, it shatters. "Give me that!" Sarah screams, lunging forward to grab the device. I don't move an inch. I simply catch her wrist in a grip of iron. I spent years in field training. A desperate socialite is no match for muscle memory. I twist slightly, forcing her to her knees. "I was an intelligence analyst for 30 years, Marcus," I say, looking my son dead in the eye. "I spent my career catching people much smarter and much more dangerous than the three of you." "Dad, stop! We can explain!" Marcus cries, his face turning a sickly shade of gray. "It was just talk. We were stressed." "You weren't stressed, Marcus. You were hungry," I reply, my voice dropping to a deadly whisper. "You looked at your father and saw a payout. You looked at my life and saw an obstacle." I release Sarah, who collapses into a heap, sobbing in terror. I stand in the center of the hall, the undisputed secret boss of a house they thought they had already conquered. The power has shifted, and the look of pure, primal fear on their faces is the only inheritance they have left. The recording of their conspiracy continues to play, a loop of betrayal that fills the cramped hallway. Marcus is shaking so hard I can hear his teeth chatter. "Please, Dad, destroy that thing. We can fix this." "We're family," he pleads, reaching out with a hand that I no longer recognize as my own flesh and blood. "Family doesn't oil the floorboards for a fall, Marcus," I say, my voice a cold stone. Suddenly the heavy thud of boots echoes from the porch. The front door bursts open with a violent crack that vibrates through the floor. I had already sent the live audio feed and my location to my old contact at the bureau an hour ago. Blue and red lights strobe against the hallway wallpaper, turning the scene into a jagged nightmare. "Police! Nobody move!" A voice bellows from the stairs. Officers swarm the narrow space, their flashlights cutting through the steam. Elena tries to bolt toward the back bedroom, her heels skidding on the hardwood, but a young officer tackles her near the banister. She screams, a high, panicked sound that carries no dignity. Sarah is still on her knees, her face buried in her hands, wailing about her reputation. Marcus collapses. He doesn't fight. He just sinks into a heap at my feet, blubbering like a child. "We were just joking. It was a joke, officer. We wouldn't have gone through with it." The sergeant, a man who knows a professional setup when he sees one, looks at me with a nod of respect. I point to Elena's discarded briefcase. "The insurance documents are in there," I tell him. "Check the signatures." Elena lets out a jagged scream of "No!" as the officer snaps the briefcase open and pulls out the forms. He frowns, turning the pages over under his tactical light. "These are blank, Arthur. There's nothing here but indentations." I look down at Marcus. "The ink is gone, son. Just like your inheritance." The sergeant hauls Marcus up and clicks the steel cuffs over his wrists. "Marcus Vance, you're under arrest for attempted conspiracy to commit murder and insurance fraud." As they are led away in a procession of shame, Marcus looks back at me, his eyes wide with a horrific realization. He didn't just lose the money, he lost the man he thought he could outsmart. I stand at the top of the stairs, the Alpha watching the trash being cleared from his home. The echoes of the sirens and Marcus's frantic pleas still linger in the corners of the foyer, acoustic ghosts haunting the space as the silence of the house returns. It is not a peaceful silence. It is a heavy, hollow quiet, the kind that follows a controlled demolition, where the dust hangs suspended in the air, waiting for gravity to remember its job. The flashing blue and red lights that had bathed the living room walls in a chaotic, strobe light panic are gone, replaced by the stagnant gray of pre-dawn. I stand in the center of the living room, my home once again, though the air feels thinner, oxygen sucked out by the violence of the last hour. The parquet floors, usually warm and inviting, feel like a frozen lake beneath my feet. I walk to the mantel, my movements stiff, mechanical, like a soldier inspecting a battlefield after the ceasefire. I pick up the silver-framed photograph of our family from 10 years ago. It was taken on a dock in Maine, the wind whipping our hair, the sky a bruised purple. Marcus is smiling in the photo, his arm draped casually around my shoulder, his eyes bright with a potential that I foolishly thought was limitless. I bring the frame closer, squinting in the dim light, looking for the shadow of the man he became in that younger face. I search for the greed, the entitlement, the capacity for betrayal that eventually led the FBI to my doorstep. But I find nothing but a stranger. That boy in the photo died long before the handcuffs clicked shut tonight. He was slowly replaced, cell by cell, lie by lie, until only the appetite remained. I set the photo down, but the glass creates a barrier I can no longer tolerate. I pry the back open, my fingers surprisingly steady, and slide the glossy print out. I fold it once and slide it into my breast pocket. The frame, now empty and meaningless, I leave face down on the wood. I walk out onto the porch as the sun begins to bleed over the horizon, painting the manicured lawns of the subdivision in deceptive pastels. I sit on the teak bench, watching the last of the flashing lights fade into the distance, carrying my biological legacy toward a federal arraignment. The morning air is crisp, biting at my exposed skin, but I welcome the sting. It feels real. It feels like consequences. A black sedan rolls silently to the curb, the engine cutting out before the tires even stop moving. My lawyer, a man named Elias, who has held my secrets in his vaults for decades, walks up the driveway. He moves with the grace of an undertaker, respectful but efficient. He doesn't offer empty platitudes or feigned shock. He knows me better than that. He knows that for a man like me, a man who spent 30 years destabilizing regimes and neutralizing threats for the state, grief is a luxury we cannot afford. The house is sold, Arthur. The paperwork was finalized an hour ago via the emergency channels. The funds have cleared into the Swiss account, Elias says, his voice a low rumble that matches the gravel under his shoes. He hands me a slim leather folder. Everything is in a blind trust. You've officially ceased to exist on the local grid. Your digital footprint is already dissolving. Good, I reply, taking the folder. It feels light, negligible. How strange that a lifetime of accumulation, property, status, history, can be compressed into a few ounces of paper. I reach into my pocket and retrieve the folded photograph, then take a silver Zippo from my trousers. I hold the family photo over the railing, the glossy paper catching the first rays of the sun. I flick the flame. It dances for a moment, hungry before catching the corner of the print. He asked for you, Elias says quietly. He doesn't look at the burning photo. He looks at the horizon, before they put him in the car. I know, I say. I watch the edges curl and blacken, the chemical smell of burning plastic mixing with the morning dew. The image of my son's smile bubbles and warps, turning into ash that drifts away on the breeze. You don't enable a parasite, you remove it. If you leave even a piece behind, it just grows back. I spent years thinking I could fix him, that I could outmaneuver his worst impulses. But you can't negotiate with cancer, Marcus called from the station an hour ago. My phone had vibrated against the mahogany table, the screen lighting up the darkened room like a beacon. I knew it was him. I could imagine him in the holding cell, crying, begging for me to post his bail, to pull strings, to make the bad thing go away, just like I always had. I didn't answer. I didn't even reach for the device. I simply watched the screen glow, pulsing like a dying heartbeat until it went dark. I've spent my life protecting this country from external threats, hunting monsters in the dark so the citizens could sleep in the light. It is a bitter irony to find that the greatest enemy, the one that would finally destroy my world, was the one I raised in my own image. I gave him the tools of the Alpha, the confidence, the resources, the power, but I failed to give him the discipline to wield them. Is the transport ready? I ask, dropping the last charred corner of the photo into the dirt. If you love my story, please like this video and subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments where you have watched it from. This inspires us to share more such stories with you.